Reverend Dennis Reynolds, who comes to us from Eugene and often shakes things up for us. He told me he's going to tell us a story that wasn't even in his plans. Is that still true? That's still true. So we're going to have Dennis share our Odyssey and our personal pilgrimage.
Thank you, Sally, and thank you for the recurring invitation to be with you. Our longings and our dreams call us to seek. They call us to travel, sometimes to journey to faraway places, and sometimes to sacred places that may be very nearby. Sometimes we travel alone, sometimes we encounter others. It was just this past Monday morning when I was traveling to a place nearby and found my life journey intersecting with someone who traveled a great distance to arrive at that same chosen destination. That morning I took a slightly longer walk than usual with my new young dog, Maddie. I live near a beautiful wooded park. It's Hendricks Park in Eugene. Some of you may know it. It's Eugene's oldest park and renowned for its rhododendron gardens. The park extends for miles along a wooded ridgeline just east of the University of Oregon campus. There are miles of trails, many of which I know very well because in my younger days I was a recreational distance runner. I ran daily, usually during my lunch hour from work. And for decades, I worked at the campus child care centers on campus, just a few blocks from the roadway that leads up into Hendricks Park. I now live on the other side of the hill, and the home we built a few years back is even closer to the park. In fact, we picked that lot because of its proximity, its walking distance to that park, and to some dear friends' homes. I've not, though, walked the trails, though, as often in recent years as my longings would call me to be. That changed, though, just a few weeks ago when we adopted a 6-month-old mutt doodle named Madeline, or as we usually call her, Maddie. She's become my walking and hiking buddy, and as I hope to continue to do a bit healthier and fitter, and she becomes a little better leash trained, I hope she'll become my jogging partner. By the way, she's currently in the back of the van because later today we're going to have our first shared romp on the beach. I don't know if she's ever been before. She was a stray and in the pound in Marion County when we found her. We have no idea where her journey had taken her, but we feel blessed to have such a sweet pup in our life. Well, on Monday, I decided on that morning walk to take a pilgrimage to a place just north of the park that's become an important destination for many people. It's called Pre's Rock. It's a large basalt boulder in front of a solid stone embankment. It's located on a sharp curve on a narrow road just north of the park. There is a large memorial plaque there that honors the short life of the iconic Oregon-born distance runner, Steve Prefontaine, or as he was affectionately called, Pre. A few of you nodded and so know some about him, but for those who may not know as much, I can tell you he was amazing. I had the opportunity in the late 60s and early 70s to see Pre run. In his short running career, Pre held every American record in every distance between 1,500 and 5,000 meters, and he won race after race with a combination of unique talent and a renowned commitment to give every workout and every race his all. He is quoted as saying, "To give anything less than your best is to deny the gift." To give anything in your best is to deny the gift. The memorial is located on the spot where his sports car rolled over and he died at age 24. Though he died young, His talent and dedication helped to launch a resurgence of distance running in America and globally. His coach and running shoe designer, Bill Bowerman, along with another U of O runner, Phil Knight, co-founded a sports equipment company that became the mega company Nike. Now, 50 years after Pre's death, former runners like me and young runners too make the journey from near and far to Pre's Rock. On this Monday morning, as is often the case, I was not the only one at the Rock. And there's a plaque there that reads, "You are missed by many, and you will never be forgotten." And it's true, he hasn't been forgotten. When you get there, the rock itself and the ground around it is festooned with running paraphernalia and gear, including race bib numbers, participant and winner medals, and handwritten notes. And as often the case, an old pair of running shoes. I met there a family whose young son had come to Eugene to participate in this year's Nike Outdoor Nationals just down the hill at Hayward Field. That meet invites top middle school, high school, and young collegiate athletes from across the country to travel to Eugene to compete. The dad told me they had come to the Rock from New York. Though they'd come to Eugene so that his son might compete in the 800 meters at the meet, they had also made that special journey up the hill, a side trip to this spot, a pilgrimage to a place that is sacred in a unique way to track and field athletes and fans to this day. We talked about Pre. I got a lot of cred because I'd actually seen him run. We repeated that quote, and we talked about Eugene, which calls itself Track City, USA. And the father's comment struck me. He said, "This is Mecca. This is Mecca." Though a journey to Eugene for a track and field hardly measures up to the commitment that's required and dedication that's required of the Hajj, that sacred pilgrimage that calls millions of Muslims to travel to Mecca, the Arabian city, to deepen their spiritual practice and journey, it holds significance to many. A pilgrimage to Mecca is considered one of the pillars of Islam, and Muslims bow towards that city in their daily prayers. It's a holy place. That morning, that family and I were on our own very different kind of pilgrimage. Now, some Unitarian Universalists refer to Boston as Mecca, though there's no call for us to sacrifice to make a sacred pilgrimage there, and few of us independent-minded Unitarian Universalists would ever bow towards the UUA. I think it's important that many of us have our special and sacred places. Perhaps it's the home where one grew up, or a beloved grandparent's remembered farm, or a grave where a beloved is interred, or the spot on the ocean shore where the ashes of a beloved were scattered. For me, and I suspect for many of you who have traveled to live near its shore, the Pacific Ocean is a deeply spiritual, sacred entity. I want to ask, how many of you are from Florence, who were born in Florence? So pretty much every one of us in this room traveled from somewhere. How many native Oregonians are amongst us? I can count myself. Okay, you all journeyed to be here. This is the place you have chosen to call your home. You know, and I think that's part of the message I hope we all internalize, is the sense our journey calls us to places that become sacred. I have a couple of particularly sacred places. One is the spot on the McKenzie River where we deposited the ashen remains of my dear friend Deb. My journey to that place when she was living with us and she got a terminal diagnosis. And the journey ended when I waded into that ice cold water and watched the gray ashes drift away from the bone fragments that remained on the gravel. I return to that spot from time to time and remember Deb and the special connection we had. Another spot that is sacred to me is the Sea Cave, just up the coast. It's on the headlands at Otter Rock, where I had a profoundly moving spiritual experience. I will, before the summer is out, no doubt travel again to that to that place, which will take me back to a recollection of that time. And I will make sure it's at low tide, because that's the only time you can get into that particular cave. I invite you to just take a few moments, to just do some shared breaths, to think about, to ponder, what are special places you find holy and sacred. Let's just breathe in slowly and breathe out. And remember and ponder the times you know, the times you've experienced as a holy place. When we journey to such places, when undertaken with intention, they become a pilgrimage. It doesn't need to be the long walk of the Camino de Santiago, or the climb up Mount Fuji or Mount Sinai, or traveling to Lourdes or Mecca, or even to Boston. You do not need to have an outside institution name a place as holy for you to choose to recognize it as such. We know when we're in a holy place. Sometimes a place becomes sacred because we name it so. Sometimes the most sacred journey we can undertake be the journey home. The seeking and finding of one's own true home. Now, the Merriam-Webster dictionary tells us that a pilgrimage is a journey to a shrine or sacred place. A pilgrimage, the dictionary also confirms, is the course of life on earth. The course of life on earth is a pilgrimage. Our life pilgrimage is the path we travel throughout our lifetimes. The poet Mary Oliver advises that you do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert, repenting. You only have to feel the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscape, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese high in the clean blue air are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. Now, there is a tradition in UU ministers' circles to invite colleagues to share their life journeys at ministerial gatherings through a presentation called an Odyssey. Each ministers' association retreat includes an Odyssey of an elder minister. Now, the retreats I currently attend are as a member of the UU Retired Ministers Partners and Spouses, UROPS, we call it. I love being part of an organization that has as an acronym something fun to say as UROPS. There, the Odysseys include one from a retired minister and one from their spouse or partner. As you no doubt realize, these retellings of one's life journey took their name from that Greek poet Homer's epic poem, the Odyssey. Now, that original Odyssey recalls the warrior king Odysseus' journey home to his kingdom after the conclusion of the Trojan War. Some of you may have read it long ago in an introduction to Western literature class. Few of us would likely have read it recently. But the story offers a tale of challenges and trials and tribulations that Odysseus, like all of us, needs strength to overcome. And some of the stories offer profound metaphorical representations of the challenges we all face in our life. He, like we, have learned what it means to sometimes feel lost and to carry in our hearts a deep longing for a place we might call home. Early in the journey, the crew arrives at the land of the lotus eaters. And there on that sweet island, they forget about their journey and their home. I know I sometimes felt a little bit like that during the year when, as a young adult, I spent a year on the modern paradise of Maui. And what was going on the mainland didn't seem to matter all that much some days. Odysseus does get them to set aside a life of ease and renew the quest. In time, he and his crew meet and overcome that great giant one-eyed warrior of the Cyclops, a being whose one eye renders him incapable of having peripheral vision or depth vision. We know to see clearly one truly needs to look broadly and to look deeply. The voyagers survive many storms at sea. They persist and sail on, for the journey is not just about getting home, but also about growing wiser. Even a journey into the dark of the underworld offers wisdom. We too know that our deepest wisdom can come to us in the darkest times and from deep within the darkest parts of ourselves. With Odysseus lashed to the mast and the crew's ears plugged with wax, they resist the tempting call of the sirens, which if heeded would lure the king and his crew onto a rocky shoreline and certain peril. I know in our times it's often difficult to resist the carefully crafted call of skilled advertisers who call on us to engage fully with the consumer culture. In our time, that siren call has become difficult to resist. We, like Odysseus, need all our willpower and the call of our deepest values. For us and for that long ago traveling king, every trial in our life offers opportunities for change and growth. We can count on life to be filled with an infinite supply of friggin' growth opportunities. Odysseus' journey and the obstacles he must still overcome after he completes his home also remind us that home is not merely a place, but it's a place that has become the place. A place where we belong, where we find our heart's desire. I'm reminded of the words of Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz as she comes near the end of her own pilgrimage, where she reminds us, if I ever go looking For my heart's desire again, I won't look any further than my own backyard. Because if it isn't there, I never really lost it to begin with. And then she does those magic words, clicks her heels. There's no place like home. But before she departs, her friends and her are reminded by the good witch Glinda, who Dorothy said, why didn't you tell me? She said, because you needed to find that out for yourself. We need to find our own truth. Yet a place of belonging, the great story tells us, can serve as a mirror for us to use to reflect on our journey and our values and the longings that call us to home. I would like to end this morning with a few words from a film that I encountered also just this past week. Now I have to add a little bit of a preface. I'm not going to tell you very much about it because I really, really hope you'll try to see it. It's titled The Unlike Pilgrimage of Harold Fry. The film and the novel by Rachel Joyce, upon which it is based, is a sweet tale of one non-assuming, humble man's journey, how his reflecting on and remembering even his darkest shadow guide and call him onward. It's on Netflix, so it's pretty easy to get to. Remember, it's The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry. You might even consider a little bit of a watch party if not everybody has Netflix. I found it delightful, so did my wife Suzanne. But I want to end with some words from the end of the film and end of Harold's Odyssey when his wife Maureen tells him, you got up and you went out into the world with blind faith. You did it. You did it. And if trying to find your way, even when you do not know how you would get there, isn't a miracle, I don't know what is. May we each continue to find our own way, even when we don't know how we will get there.